I'm an artist now, but for a long time I was a psychotherapist. People struggle the most with love, in particular the difference between what they think love is and what it actually is, or what it possibly can be.
Can you see it once you look?
Yep.
That's so important that that's correct, number one, for the anatomy, that their chins meet a certain way in order for the kiss to actually happen.
When I look at the history of art, there are so many depictions of love, and looking at it through the lens of psychology as I do now, I see lots of representations of love that I think are problematical. I suppose what I would call a misrepresentation of love. The longer I looked at these, the more I felt like clarifying that they're misrepresentations. So I started a series of paintings that I've called Not Love, to try to make the point to the viewer. I suppose it's a bit of a warning that what you're looking at is romantic and desirable, but perhaps it's a misdirection. And what I've wanted to do is paint, I suppose, warnings that what you're seeing is not love. It starts with a very small drawing to capture the fundamentals. It's very intimate and a chance to decide whether I want to continue with this particular idea or not. 20. The next thing I'll do is go up onto the easel. This is becoming, I suppose, a more serious analysis. It starts to reveal how the original painter, in this case Toulouse-Lautrec, how he composed such a compelling painting. This one's called The Bed, The Kiss. If you know a little bit about art, his kissing in bed is a thing that he did, possibly one of the first people, because up until then you didn't paint ordinary people, and you definitely didn't paint people in bed together. So I found this one and I thought, yes, that's definitely one to try.
Kind of okay.
Lots of people get caught up on physical love being love, on the experience we have in bed as being love. Now, I don't think Toulouse-Lautrec was necessarily depicting sex in his painting, but certainly that physical, comfy, sensual love, if you like. And while it's certainly part of love, it isn't love. It's another one of those not loves. It's such a graphic painting. It's so distinct and iconic as an experience lots of people can relate to, that it really stood in my mind. So I decided I wanted to explore that painting and, I suppose, unromantically turn it into another one of these not love warnings. Once I've done the drawing, I will overdraw it in charcoal.
This is squashed nose. I love that. It's just so well caught, and you know, it's so true about when you kiss somebody, like he's squished against them. And that is pretty close to how he's going to be.
What I want to do at this point is start to get the feeling of what it was like for him to paint this, the brush stroke of it, the pressure that's required, the graininess that's in the original painting. So that's what the charcoal does. And it also helps make the blacks blacker and the whites stand out more, so you get a greater tonal range as well. Once I've covered the lights, the darks, the lines, the texture, I suppose the part that most people start to find exciting is colour.
There's a point where you're trying to get like a base layer down, because you'll put other layers on top, but if you don't get it to stick, it'll all be powder on powder. So.
I again avoid fully committing to an end painting at this point and use pastel to explore colour. It has a similar sensuality to charcoal.
I can only pick up the closest colour I can find, and this is still too bright and vibrant, and he's mixing his colours right from the start, so he can choose any colour he wants. So.
I'm beginning to understand why he chose to put one colour next to another. It is, I suppose, the most delightful part of the process. It's very entertaining to the eye, the pastel part. At this point, I've actually redrawn his painting 4 times. So now I'm really familiar with his painting. Initially, the painting looks very simple and straightforward and quite brushy, but in fact, it's very detailed, and I can tell from having drawn it this many times that it meant a lot to him. I think there was something meaningful for him in seeing this image.
Take that bit away.
Now I've exhausted, I suppose, what I can get out of it. I'm interested in painting my experience of what he did. In the case of the Not Love series, I am choosing to paint the whole painting over 2 separate canvases. During the stage where I make the pastel drawing, I'll take photos of that building up and building up and building up in different stages. And there was one particular photo of the pastel that I really loved a bit early on in the pastel that was quite abstract, with just the 2 people in the middle highlighted. So I decided to use that as my starting point for my painting. you keep being drawn back to his painting, but the challenge that you really have to break through on is to make it your own. It's my painting now. However, having looked at his painting for so long, I can't forget that he is the originator. And I suppose there's a romantic part of me that would like to think if he suddenly appeared now, he would approve of what he saw.
The hand, that's looking so good.
It's easy to get caught up in the details while you're painting. Each colour choice you make can get more and more focused in and a bit lost in your own painting. I try to keep stepping back quite regularly. Sometimes it's just for a moment, sometimes it's literally turning your back on the painting, walking away and looking at it from across the room to try to see it new again, to try to see it perhaps how someone else would see it and get the overall impression. Other times it's overnight. You have to come back the next day and see what impression it gives to you as you open up the studio again and look at it for what you hope will feel like the first time.
You would do that. I love these colours now. Okay, so.
And of course, when you do that, you can see things that you're not satisfied with. So not every brushstroke is brilliant. You're stepping back a lot of the time to try to find the parts that aren't satisfactory.
I'm learning.
Sometimes you scrape them off, sometimes you paint over them or paint something next to them to change what you've done. So it's a long blow by blow experience of putting down a brushstroke and seeing what it does to the whole painting. I can get a long way through a painting and decide I want to change colour significantly. With this particular one, his background was very white and I had this intuition to actually make the background a little darker so that the figures would stand out more. At this point, I've forgotten, I think, that it was in fact two paintings, two canvases joined into one, and I have to go back to my initial purpose with this and separate the two canvases. What I'm doing with this series is painting a coloured line on the two edges of the canvases that meet, that join together to make it one, just to emphasise the point of the series, which is this is not love. So on this painting I'm using a lemon yellow colour to paint the edges of the canvases that meet. And then they're put back together, they're fixed together so that the two canvases become one painting that will be framed as one. The yellow line is a symbol of the fault line in their relationship. If being in bed is what love is based on. That's the premise for the whole series, that there's a fault line when we don't understand what love is and when we believe that something which is not love is love.